and gentlemen, let's go. We ain't got no time to waste. Let's go. You are now listening to Jason Anderson, and you are in the zone.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I believe Tech 9 will do the halftime performance coming up on Saturday.
No.
During Avatar?
He will. During Avatar? On Saturday, it's Lil Jon.
Oh, yeah.
What? I said it's Lil Jon doing it on Saturday. Okay! Glad you're excited about it.
Ask him if I'm excited.
You excited?
Yeah! Stupid. You're in the zone on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, a Tuesday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, and Beards heading up until 2 o'clock. The next 4 hours, we've got you. Boy, a lot of stuff to get into today. Got a lot of NFL to discuss and talk about. Chiefs, Bengals, 5:30. Sunday. Chiefs now 2-point dogs. 3-point favorites to 2-point underdogs in about 48 hours or less than 48 hours, I guess. Interesting. 5-point swing. The exact opposite happening this week of what happened last week with Bills and Bengals. That line was moving towards the Bills all week until it got to like 6.5 at kickoff. And now the line is moving towards the Bengals this week. We'll figure out what that means. We can get into that, but a lot of stuff to discuss as it relates to this game, to the defense, the Bengals, talking season, Mahomes' ankle, workouts, public, cameras, boom mics, bare feet, Michael A. Taylor trade, KU 3-game losing streak. I mean, there's just so many things to get into today and talk about and start with. We will discuss some college basketball with Myron Metcalf coming up at noon. College Hoops Insider from ESPN, Myron Metcalf, presented by the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Kansas City each and every time he's on the show with us. So we will we'll hang out with Myron coming up at noon. Adam Teicher at the 11 o'clock hour. For the hour, we will discuss the Chiefs with our Chiefs Insider from ESPN. Get his thoughts on the game coming up this weekend, what he thinks of Patrick Mahomes' ankle, what he thinks of what it may look like this week, the rehab going on this week, the discussion around it. Good Morning Football, is Patrick Mahomes' ankle worth freaking out over?
Yes.
Question mark. They are discussing that right now.
Yes, it
Whether
is.
or not it's worth freaking out over.
It is. Next topic.
Of course it's worth freaking. We just have to keep our composure. Or we just have to keep our composure, everybody. Yes, of course it is. I mean, it's Ankle Watch.
Ankle Watch 2023, Day 2.
We're in the middle of it now.
Did you not like the one that I made?
Oh, you made one?
Production quality is almost as good.
I want to hear yours.
Ankle Watch.
We should play them both back to back.
That's Morgan Freeman by a AI bot. Made that in one commercial break yesterday.
Ankle Watch.
I think the production value just comes through.
We got to play them back.
I
to
mean,
back
the
now.
production value is just this one. The other one that we played first is specifically for today.
2023, Day 2.
I mean, we can go day by day. That's huge. Well, hold on now. Now, hold on. I don't mean to be a stickler.
Be a stickler.
Is today day 3 of Ankle Watch?
Well, it's day 2 of us on the air.
Ankle Watch.
It's day 2 on the air. Day 3, we weren't really watching Ankle Watches.
2023.
We didn't know. It was just,
Day 2.
we needed to start really paying attention to it yesterday with press conferences and in for rehab and stuff like that. So today is day 2 because we've already done the production. So yes, no more
Ankle
sticker.
Watch 2023, Day 2.
I think this might be day 4. I mean, I started watching Patrick Mahomes' ankle on Saturday.
Watch.
Day 3.5.
Is Patrick Mahomes' ankle worth freaking out over?
Yes.
You can do people don't understand this. You can do most sound effects you need just a cappella. That's pretty good.
Ankle watch.
You a beatboxer? Did you do beatboxing in high school?
Day 2.
Boots and cats and boots and cats.
Presented by Barbasol. Westwood one.
I was going to say, now you're just the Westwood one guy.
They really are. But I tell you what, one of the greatest voices on the planet.
Day 2 ankle watch. Presented by Barbasol.
Barbasol's the perfect. I don't think it could be brought to you by Tylenol. Like it doesn't. Because the Barbasol even has a song with it, you know? It's just one word.
Brought to you by, presented by Dayquil.
Dayquil. It doesn't work.
Brought to you by Tussin.
Brought to you by the cigarettes I eat for breakfast every morning.
Mo Tussin. If you're out of Tussin, put some water in there. More Tussin. Westwood one. Ankle watch.
I think you've got a whole other, I was going to say career, I think really art form.
Ankle watch. All right, so let's...
Human jukebox over here, man. Are you kidding me?
Yes.
I didn't know you had all these talents in there.
6 minutes, Huggy Fresh. Adam Teicher at 11 o'clock. We'll talk about the Chiefs with him. Todd Lebo, 1 o'clock. He'll be our guest. We'll play a little Fact or Fiction with one Todd Lebo in the 1 o'clock hour. All right, a lot of football we'll get into. Let's start with some college basketball. Beard, you want to start with college basketball?
The Duke play or something?
Duke not only played, Duke not only lost, but Duke's Ryan Filipowski took a punch to the throat.
That's true.
And the ref said, play on. We reviewed it, and while, yes, MJ Collins did punch him in the throat, we feel like it was accidental because he was celebrating with a celebratory punch to the throat. He didn't karate chop him to the throat.
Who hasn't enjoyed a celebratory punch right to the Adam's apple?
We know he went and threw up. But I feel like we need to give benefit of the doubt because in the player's defense, he did score a bucket.
He was pretty jacked.
If you score a bucket, aren't you allowed to just willy-nilly fling your arms around in the air?
If you can't obliterate one opposing player's entire Adam's apple, that dude now has Adam's applesauce in his throat. Play on. No foul. Dude turned that man's esophagus into a bucket of Mott's. No issues.
None whatsoever.
No yellow.
Look, if you can't swing your fists around just wildly in the air like you're, Cuba Gooding Jr. in Boys in the Hood, if you can't do that, then what's the point of playing basketball?
Exactly.
Why even want to go and play basketball if you can't just swing wildly and almost knock out Kevin Garnett when you're Vince Carter, leaping over the man in the Olympics, turning around and punching the air, and
that would be Frederick Weiss, who
Kevin Garnett
did not play in the NBA after that.
So actually, he wasn't alive after that. He actually died. People don't realize that. It was he was taken straight to the corner. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. You were just straight to the corner.
Should you go out there and rip their throats out?
Yes,
coach. Adam's Apple Watch.
So we'll talk with Myron Metcalf about KU 3-game losing streaks, K-State at Iowa State tonight, Mizzou in a not necessarily a must-win, but a can't-lose game against Ole Miss, and punches being thrown and officials going, we're good. We're good here. But
the one place where college refs went, no, we don't need to insert ourselves into this one.
We're good, actually. We're okay. I do wonder, though, this is maybe a little conspiracy theory. If that was at Cameron Indoor Stadium, you know that's called, right? It's a flagrant 2.
Sorry, did you mean to say that's called a crime, like an arrest, like an assault?
He is arrested on the court. They actually walk right out there, put him in handcuffs,
Yes.
and it's a perp walk.
Yes, 100%.
Off the court.
100%.
Off the court, perp walk.
They're going to be putting him in an orange jumpsuit before he even gets to the baseline.
Orange is the new Virginia Tech. He doesn't even leave the court before they have him change. Full body cavity search, too. I thought that was a little much for ESPN.
Seemed like a little much.
Seemed a little interesting. Kids were watching, waiting for that KU and Baylor game, and all of a sudden you're watching that out there on the court because the guy was celebrating. I mean, come on. I mean, I do think home crowds play an impact in that. And
I just love that the referees finally decided to swallow the whistle, and this dude came in and said, pop!
yeah.
Ankle watch?
No, Super Bowl officiating crew watch.
Oh, bleep me.
Carl Jeffers, baby.
That's
No
not,
way.
that you're
You're not-
kidding.
you're not
There's
serious.
No, I am serious.
way the NFL gave him the Super Bowl, right?
NFL officiating official, referee Carl Jeffers.
Oh, my God.
Well, see, here's the thing.
Oh, Joe Burrow's going to be so mad.
It's a win-win. If the Chiefs lose, they don't have to deal with Carl Jeffers. If they win, they get to go to the Super Bowl, whether they deal with Carl Jeffers or not.
And deal with Carl Jeffers.
Yeah, but you know what? They're in the Super Bowl, though. Oh, my God. How?
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 How does he get that assignment?
How do you decide? You know what? You know who deserves the spotlight? Maybe every other ref was like, I'd rather have February off.
You know what we'd like in the Super Bowl? More penalties. We'd like the crew that penalizes teams the most to ref the Super Bowl so we can see Carl Jeffers in his "there is no foul on the play when it's time to change." It's a Brady Bunch reference for you there, Josh.
I thought you were doing the Virginia Tech Duke thing again.
Filipowski now could be Carl Jeffers.
God, just clear that throat out.
They hit me in my throat. It's now my ad apple.
Speaking
Carl
of-
Jeffers, that's got to be like somebody playing a prank, right?
No, that's
No,
the-
this is from
that's-
at NFL officiating.
And James Palmer just tweeted it.
Oh, my goodness. Seriously, not even from a Chiefs-centric perspective. How?
But here's the
Nobody
thing.
in football is like, oh, you know who did a great job this year? Carl Jeffers.
Here's the thing. I always hated the conversation around Lane Kiffin when people would say, he keeps failing up. Okay, he got fired in the NFL and went to be an offensive coordinator at Alabama. That's not failing up.
Mm-hmm.
Then he got the job at USC because he was pretty good at Alabama. Then he got fired. Or maybe he was an offensive coordinator at Alabama after USC. Can't really remember. Either way, he got fired on the tarmac. Okay? Then he ends up at Ole Miss. Is Ole Miss better than USC? No, he's not failing up. It's absurd to say, well, he's failing up. Yeah, he's failed and he's getting other jobs because, people still believe in him. Same thing with Cliff Kingsbury. Like when they were talking about Cliff Kingsbury wants to be interviewed for offensive coordinators positions. And I saw so many people like, this guy keeps failing up. Now, granted, going from Texas Tech to Arizona, yes, agreed. That is an example of that. Getting fired at Arizona and wanting to be interviewed for offensive coordinator jobs, that is not failing up.
Right.
Carl Jeffers is failing up. He's not good at his job, but apparently he's the best of the not goods at their jobs because there aren't many officials that are good at their jobs in the NFL. It's a piss poor product that they put out there. And Carl Jeffers is the embodiment of the issues with NFL officials. And you're going to put him on the grand stage to say, you know what? Not only are we crappy at officiating, this is how crappy we are. Go ahead and take a look at this.
He's actually the halftime act.
I'd rather
Double
have
duty.
Rihanna refereeing.
Oh, can we switch that? Can
I would
Rihanna
love
referee?
that.
She would be distracting, though, on the field, I think.
We know Carl Jeffers has a great announcing voice. He could probably turn that right into a singing voice. Umbrella, Ella, hey.
Under my umbrella.
Welcome to the most niche impression ever done. Carl Jeffers singing Umbrella. At the Super Bowl halftime show.
Would Carl Jeffers be better at performing Rihanna songs at halftime or his real job of officiating NFL games? Because it's not just Carl Jeffers, it's his whole crew. Although,
Well,
isn't it a mixed crew
This will
then?
do, yeah. So
a
the
mixed crew,
thing,
you're
the
right.
thing for
You're
the
right.
Super Bowl, but hold
But
on,
he's still-
Jason. Don't give the NFL any extra credit. You don't need to owe them here because I don't think it makes any sense to say, you know what we're going to do for the biggest game of the year when the entire nation and large parts of the world are watching? Why don't we cobble together an all-star crew? I put in giant, massive quotation marks.
That
Hey,
haven't
I've
worked
seen that
together.
movie before.
Yeah.
When? I don't remember that.
It's so, oh my goodness. I can't, I'm
All-Star
genuinely
crews?
shocked. I'm genuinely shocked by this.
I'm not. Have they announced the officiating crews for this weekend for Chiefs Bengals? We know it's not Carl Shepard's. We know
No,
that.
it's not. No, that did come out. I'll have to go find it again for
Is
you because
it-
I did not retain that information.
Is it Hussey?
The that Football Zebras account had a report with it. I will.
If it was Hussey, then you would know off the top of your head, right? If I said, is it Hussey, you'd remember then, because as long as it's not Hussey either, I'm good with that.
I think Hussey is doing one of the games this weekend.
Yeah, he can do Eagles and 49ers.
He
right?
is.
He's doing Eagles 49ers?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Ron Torbert is doing the AFC Championship game.
Don't know much about him. Like him already.
I vaguely
idea.
remember. Anytime I remember a referee that makes me nervous because I don't usually remember them for good reasons, and I have some vague memory of Ron Torbert calling, I don't know, literally anything on the field. But I don't have direct trauma attached to him, so I'm good with it.
By the way, did you don't think that it was lost on me that we were getting ready to talk about KU's 3-game losing streak, and Beards was like, breaking
It
news!
literally popped up as you were
Breaking
talking about that.
news! Carl Sheffers. I believe that was announced 2 weeks ago. Beards.
Beards
Not
had that in
fooling
his
me.
pocket.
Not fooling me. No, sir. Not going to fall for the banana of the tailpipe this time, all right?
Oh, my goodness, man.
I struggle to figure out, like, look, Bill Self has had 3-game losing streaks in his entire time at KU. So, you know, it's pretty damn successful. And I struggle to sort of make any grand observations of, okay, here are the issues with KU. I think there are some, but here's like a death knell, or this is going to cost them, versus while we credit them for making plays down the stretch in closer games when they started off 5-0 in the Big 12, and 4 of those 5 were one-possession games, we credit them for doing some of those things. But the best way to avoid a 50-50 ending in the shot goes or shot misses, make or miss game is to win by more than a score or two. And ultimately, things just start to even out more than anything. And, you know, one-possession game against K-State, they made tons of plays down the stretch in these other games in which they won. And against K-State, they didn't get a shot off at half. Well, I guess they did in the last, but they took the shot with 15 seconds left. Grady Dick could have pulled it out, but then he decided to go and attack, and he could have stopped attacking. Sorry. Instead, he decided to penetrate, and then he got fouled, and then hits one free throw, and then Keontae Johnson goes back, and then he went to the bucket. Oh, God, I mean,
Beards really is running interference on this topic
yes.
today.
He went to the hole, and then, you know,
Who did?
he was knocked around. And he made one, but then at the end of regulation and end of overtime, they didn't get a shot off. And so now they've lost a couple of games. TCU, obviously, that's the bigger issue. They've lost a couple of games. Last night wasn't a one-possession game, but it was one of those to where down the stretch, you make plays, you don't make plays, and Baylor was certainly doing that. The bigger overarching thing for Kansas, to me, is the third scorer. Because Jalen Wilson is 1, Grady Dick is 2. Is it McCullers? I mean, he had 14 last night, but he seems pretty inconsistent to say he's the third guy you can rely on when in the second half and in the last 10 minutes, it feels like it is almost pulling teeth for Jalen Wilson and Grady Dick to get a shot off. Like, it is really difficult for those guys to get shots. And that's not typically something you see from a Bill Self and a Kansas team. And certainly wasn't last year when you had Brown, you had Ochai. At the end of the season in the tournament, you had Remy, Jalen Wilson, McCormick. You had 5 guys scoring double figures against North Carolina in that national championship game. And the two of the 5 that were scored the fewest points was Brown and Ochai with 12. You had McCormick with 15, Jalen with 15, Remy had 14, and then Ochai and Christian Brown, the two guys drafted in the first round, had 12. They had other answers after Ochai and Brown because Wilson sort of knew his role. Attack, offensive rebounds, get out in transition, finish. He was doing that a lot. McCormick knew his role. Remy knew his role. Obviously, Ochai and Christian Brown knew their roles. DeJuan Harris knew his role. I'm not saying that these roles are not defined this year because I do think they know the roles on this team. The difference is now Jalen Wilson is number 1. Teams know that. Grady Dick is number 2. Teams know that. And you can almost dare the other players on Kansas to be the third because while it may rotate, DeJuan Harris has a big game one day. McCullers had 14 last night. KJ Adams has had some big games this season. But where's the consistent player that you say, if Wilson or Grady Dick are struggling to get a shot, this guy can go and bail you out? And that's what Bill Self has had for a while. They don't have that. And I think that Kansas is subject to an issue in the tournament if they don't find that consistency from somebody. And I think the Ben was huge in the tournament and in the second half against North Carolina. I just don't know if Jalen or Grady are having somewhat of an off night. And Grady's had a couple of games that he's been off. Who's the one stepping up and saying, I got you tonight?
Right. And that is, I think, probably it's a pretty common problem in college basketball.
Yes, it is not just subject to Kansas.
It is what gives you the variance of high ceiling and low floor.
Yeah.
Where you can have a night from anybody because you're, the elite of the elite there.
Yeah.
In college ball, you can have your number 1 and number 2 guys both have kind of a down day, and now you could lose to anybody if their number 1 scorer is just having his way with what you're doing defensively. So Kansas's lack of that is strange for Kansas for everything you just laid out from last year, especially once Remy Martin came on late in the year into the tournament when you saw like that next gear. My other question that I would tack on to all of your questions, because, sorry, I don't have any answers to any of your questions.
I need answers.
I will call Bill Self. We'll get him tomorrow. Myron Metcalf, probably a better chance to answer that than me. I'll go ahead and pass it over to him. At noon.
I will try to.
Half of what you'd like from whoever your third guy is. Can you find someone who can help you set your floor? But even that's Jalen Wilson. I mean, like you said, Grady Dick has already had his ups and downs and the inconsistencies that you expect from a guy who just got here, who is as electric as he is.
Freshman
him being
still.
streaky as a freshman shooter who can be aggressive and all of that. I think he will develop to where later in the year his consistency is not a problem. But it's not DeJuan Harris. It would be great if DeJuan Harris was at a place where he could just go get you a bucket to keep things moving. And obviously, that's not where he's at. And so if it is McCuller, we're going to have to see it at some point. If it's KJ Adams, it's not nearly consistent enough. We know that.